Well, hello there. Can I take your order? You have a question? What's your question? How much is the lobster tail? That's a very good question. As you can see on our menu, that it's listed as the market value. That means that the price fluctuates. It's always changing. And so, I'll tell you what, today we have a special deal. The lobster is $4 more than 1/3 the price of our crab lettuce wraps. Right? Did that answer your question? Well, obviously your waiter would never give you an algebra problem like that. But just for fun. It won't be as fun as eating an actual lobster tail. But let's take a look at this problem. We are taking a look at how to think algebraically. And how can we take word problems and translate them into algebraic equations? All right. So make sure you take a look at the description below. I have a link to the notes for this lesson. Let's take a look. All right, so here's our two steps, right? Define the variables and understand which operators are being used and where they're located. All right, let's take a look. So if the price of lobster tails on a given day was $4 more than 1/3 the price of the crab lettuce wraps, write an equation you could use to find the price of lobster. And then the second question is, what is the price of lobster? All right, so most people would just sit here and just try to hash something out as best they could, right? We're going to think algebraically about this. All right, first of all, we're going to define our variables. All right, so go ahead and pause this video and see if you can define your variables. All right, so what are we talking about here? The variable is always the subject of the sentence. Well, we're talking about the price of lobster tails. We're talking about the price of lobster tails, and we're comparing the price of lobster tails. There's always going to be this comparison between your variables, right? We're comparing the lobster tail price to the price of crab lettuce wraps. You see the comparison? So what letter could I use for lobster tails? I could use L, I could use T, I can use whatever you want. I'm going to use L. All right? So I'm going to say let L equal not just simply lobster tails. This is the price of lobster tails. Because after all, we are looking for the price. All right? Is the price right? Probably not. Lobster is expensive. All right, so L equals the price of lobster tails. All right, and so that's the price of lobster tails. I'm comparing that to the price of the crab lettuce wraps. So what variable do you want to use for crab lettuce wraps? I'm just going to go with C. I'm going to say let C equal the price of the crab lettuce wraps. Take the time to do this step. It's the first step and it's the most important step. Define your variables. All right? Now we can move on to, which operators are involved here and where should they be located? Okay, so let's start off. If the price of lobster tails on a given day was, see that word was? That's a verb. It's the past tense of is, right? So anytime you see the word is or was or were, it's almost always going to be your equal sign. Okay, so the price of lobster tails, which is L, the price of lobster tails was, look at that, right there, was what? $4 more than. Okay, how do you write $4 more than? What does more than mean? It means addition. So I can go 4 plus, or I can go plus 4. I like to go plus 4. All right. $4 more than 1/3. 1/3 what? 1/3 the price of crab lettuce wraps. Well, do I have a variable that stands for crab lettuce wraps? I do. It's C. It's the price of crab lettuce wraps. So if I put a C right there, right? So the price of lobster was 1/3 the price of crab lettuce wraps. Okay, when you see the word, where is it? 1/3. It's not in there, but oftentimes you'll see the word of. Anytime you see the word of, that means multiply. 1/3 of the price of crab lettuce wraps. We need to multiply here. All right, so what's the price of the lobster tails? Well, it was $4 more than 1/3 the price of the crab lettuce wraps. And there it is. I have the entire, all that, those words, I have it wrapped up right there. Pardon the pun. Okay, so there's my first part. I got my equation. Now I just need to figure out what is the price of the lobster. Well, I don't know what lobster is, right? Because it's market value, right? That means it changes. By the way, if you're ever in a restaurant and you see market value, it probably means it's beyond your budget. But anyways, it also means that it changes a lot because it's a very expensive item. Okay, so we don't know what the lobster price is, but we do know what the price of the crab lettuce wraps is. The crab lettuce wraps is $10. Okay, so I could see if you can find the price of lobster tails, given the fact that we know that the crab lettuce wraps is $10. Pause the video and give that a try. All right, what'd you come up with? Can you afford it? Well, let's find out. Here we go. So L, the price of lobster was 1/3 C. What's C? C is $10. So we're just going to put a 10 there. All right, in fact, we don't need both of those. Plus 4. So 1/3 times 10 plus 4. And if that kind of bothers you, I'll put that like that. All right? Now we can just solve for L. Problem is, how do you take 1/3 of 10? Well, let's take a look. This is the same as, right? 1 is my numerator, 3 is my denominator, right? How about 10? Is that a numerator or a denominator? That's a numerator. So I could put the 10 up in the numerator. And by the way, I can write it with a denominator. 10 over 1 is just 10. Okay? Anything divided by 1 is the identity of the other number. Okay? And then plus 4. So I just need to know how to multiply fractions here. So there's no way I can cross reduce this. So I'm just going to go ahead and multiply straight across. So 1 times 10 is 10. And 3 times 1 is 3. Okay? And that's plus 4. So by the way, you'll notice that multiplying by 1/3 is the same as dividing by 3. Okay? All right. So let's go ahead and solve this. How do I add those two up? Well, we're going to need to find the least common denominator, aren't we? So the way I like to do these is I like to set them up vertically. All right, so I don't know if I have enough room in here. So I got 10 over 3. I have plus 4. Plus 4, right? But I'm just going to make that a fraction. Since this is a fraction, I'm going to make that a fraction. You can make any number of fractions just by sticking a 1 underneath. All right, so what is my least common multiple between 3 and 1? I need to make some equivalent fractions here. I cannot add these guys up. I cannot add these guys up because the denominator is not the same. In order to add fractions, the denominator must be equal. But they're not, so I'm going to make them equal. And the way I do that is by finding the least common multiple, or what's also known as the least common denominator. And here's the way you do it. Let's find the multiples of 3. The multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, right? And you can go on and on and on and on. Okay, what are the multiples of 1? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. What's the least common multiple? You guessed it, it's 3. All right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a 3 on both denominators because they both share a 3 in common when it comes to multiples. All right. Now I need to figure out what my numerators are going to be. Okay? So on this top fraction, 3 times, well, I didn't do anything to it, did I? Really, well, you could say you multiplied by 1. 3 times 1 is 3. So whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top as well. So I'm going to multiply the top by 1. So 10 times 1 is 10. So 10 over 3 equals 10 over 3, right? Nothing shocking about that. How about this bottom one here? 1, what did I multiply the 1 by to get 3? I had to multiply by 3, didn't I? So I'm going to multiply the bottom there by 3, and I'm going to multiply the top by 3. Okay, so 1 times 3 is 3. 4 times 3 is 12. 12. All right. Now, since I have the same denominators, I can add my numerators. So 10 plus 12 is 22. And I just keep my denominator the same. So the price of the lobster tails is 22 over $3. Well, that's not really much help, is it? Because we don't talk about dollars and cents with fractions, right? We use decimals. So I need to convert this into a decimal. Do you know how to do that? Go ahead and pause this video and give it a try. All right, are you back? Did you give it a try? Don't forget, nobody learns by just watching videos. They learn by practicing. All right, so let's take a look. The lobster tails are 22 over $3. So I'm just going to simply divide. Okay, so 3 goes into 22. I'm going to put a couple of decimals out there. 22.00. 3 goes into 22, let's see, 7 times. Because 7 times 3 is 21. Okay, now I subtract, and I get a remainder of 1. Okay, let's bring this 0 down. Oh, I need the decimal right up there. 3 goes into 10. 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. And I'm going to get a 1 for my remainder again, right? So I'm going to repeat this whole process again. That's a repeating decimal. So my lobster tail, man, this doesn't even seem right because they're so cheap. I mean, if lobster was that cheap, I would be there. All right, so how much is the lobster tail? A lobster tail is $7.33. You see, I told you that it was a special today. All right, you didn't believe me. Okay? So that was a little involved there at the end because we had this mess with the fractions, right? But the main thing I want you to get from this is how we got this. That's really what I wanted. All this other stuff was just arithmetic. Okay, this was the algebra. All right? I hope this was helpful to you. It probably made you hungry. I know it has made me hungry. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. That way you can get free lobster. No, if you subscribe to my channel, you get notified anytime I make new videos. And don't forget, in the description I have a link to the notes to this lesson. All right? Till next time, my friends, may God richly bless you.